Well, hello, my friend. I love that we are having an opportunity to talk today because we have a very powerful subject to talk about. You see, the words we use, in my experience, can shape our reality. The words and phrases that we do use consistently and repeatedly most certainly shape our reality. And in today's video, I'm going to share a few perspectives that I have experienced in my life that have helped me not only be more deliberate with the words that I use out loud and inside of my mind, but also with the words that I use to form the belief structures which I navigate this reality with. I'm Danielle Lynn, and on this channel, I hold conversations with empowered creators such as yourself who are choosing to live more deliberate and satisfying lives. And as mentioned in today's conversation, I'm inviting you and I to talk a little bit about how powerful your words are. You see, many of us grew up in households or in situations where we simply absorbed and took on the words, the phrases, the beliefs, and the ideologies that were shared with us from those who raised us. And as we became adults, many of us may have simply brought those ideologies straight into our current reality. And so sometimes, as we live our lives, we might find ourselves in situations that seem challenging or frustrating, or we might experience inner resistance or conflict and not really understand why we are perpetuating that within ourselves. So, as part of our conversation today, I'll share with you a bit about what I have discovered so far, and I invite all of us to also share our understandings and explorations as it feels resonant in the comments below. All right, let's dive in. Our words hold power and resonance. The repeated phrases that we tell ourselves both out loud and unconsciously in the back of our mind perpetuate and power the belief systems and the possibilities that we allow ourselves to experience in our day-to-day lives. I'll share some very practical examples. If someone on some level consistently says a phrase like, quote unquote, it's hard to earn money, or it's hard to find love, what is happening is they are programming into their reality that this is such, this is true. These things become true for us in our reality because on some level we have subscribed to them as being truth. In other words, let's say you only believe money can come to you through hard work. If there is a genuine opportunity that emerges in which you could receive money, but it doesn't involve hard work, you might subconsciously sabotage or steer yourself away from that experience because it doesn't align with your programmed reality in which money can only come through hard work. Another example could be someone who says, "Oh, I never have enough time." Then, no matter what happens in their life, even if they have a job and suddenly they transition from that job, then perhaps their life gets filled with some other activity almost immediately. Like maybe they suddenly have to move, or there's another big drama that shows up in their life. And they sit there and they sigh again and they say, "See, it's true. I never have enough time." None of this involves shame, blame, or condemnation. It's actually a sign and reflection of how powerful we are as creators. We are now simply coming into deeper awareness of just how powerful. And one of those ways that we can shape our reality is through the words and the belief structures that we consistently
reinforce in our day-to-day lives.
We are all just very fascinating method actors in the middle of our own experience. And sometimes we get a little carried away. Most people can discover the root of why they are creating the way they are creating if they simply spend a full day observing the way they talk about themselves and the way they talk about their lives. In other videos, I share that we are always placing trust in something, and on some level, we are always trusting ourselves. And the self we are trusting is built upon the many consistent patterns and layers we have placed into our psyches, our bodies, our minds, and our spirits. In a way, it's as if the food you eat, the way you nourish your body, helps shape your body. The information you take in helps shape your psyche. The ways you direct your focus and repeat to yourself can help shape your energy. If you say something like, I choose to move this way, but you find yourself moving this way, from that perspective, that might seem bad if you are intending to go this way. And the reason that you might move this way, even though you consciously say that you're intending to move this way, is on some level you have trusted or subscribed to a structure that you have repeated consciously or unconsciously within your system.
Now, in my experience, every person is ultimately acting at the highest capacity they know how to make choices that they feel are resonant and beneficial for them. Now, in practice, in reality, that may not be reflected in what is created in their lives. But again, in my experience, part of the reason for that may be because they have multiple and sometimes opposing perspectives active at the same time. For example, if you simultaneously want more money or resource in your life, but you also concurrently hold the perspective that money is evil, or maybe having a lot of money creates evil in people, and there may be a part of you that subconsciously subverts actions that you could be taking to bring in more resource because it doesn't want to support you being a bad person. Now, once again, it's not about being upset at the self. It's that as we bring awareness to these different parts of self operating within us, we can actually start to explore what is or is not true. For example, even if we believe there might be some people who have a lot of money who act in ways that we see as evil, we've also observed there are people who have a lot of money who act in ways we perceive as righteous. And so perhaps receiving more money for us can be an exploration, and we no longer need to subscribe to the idea that money brings out evilness in others. And in that exploration, we might find more openness to receive for ourselves. Again, this is just one example. And at its root, I invite you to explore anything inside of you beyond the judgment of good or bad, right or wrong, and more from a perspective of what feels resonant. This is one of the keys that can help us move beyond fixed judgments, shame, blame, and guilt, and help us be again like the curious inner child that is still alive and breathing inside of us.
So, what might be some of the ways that you can start connecting with yourself more presently in order to lighten that load if you so choose? If you identify at any given point that you've been running programs that haven't served you, no shame, blame, or guilt. You're an alchemist at play. You're here to have fun. You are in the ultimate method acting experience of life. And every experience is open to you as part of the color palette of the life that you can live. And when it stops being fun, or when we find ourselves in a loop, there are always opportunities for us to remember that at any given moment, there are choices and pathways that can lead us into a new step or a new pattern from here. For example, us choosing to have this conversation together is one such pattern shifting opportunity, because in this conversation together we're remembering that we do indeed have the power and the ability to catch even the most subtle of our subconscious programs. It's actually quite delightful, and I love that we're creating this together. So, in your life, you may or may not at this moment be aware that the words you are saying are shaping your reality. If you choose, if it sounds fun or inspiring or interesting to you, what you can do from here is you could choose to start recording what you say consistently. Now, I know for some this can sound like a drag or an extra step. When I first explored this, there was the part of me that went, oh, really? Gotta record stuff? The effect it had on my life was profound. It did not take me very much time each day, and it allowed me to become so crystal clear about what I was choosing that once I made a new choice, everything seemed to flow into place with ease that I enjoyed in my reality. And so I offer this to you as something you can explore if you like. And I can share with you, at least from my perspective, that any perceived drag about recording or noticing yourself can be seen as very imperceptible in relationship to the incredible amount of value, empowerment, and grounding that this can add to your life. I used a journal, and sometimes I would actually even allow myself to simply speak on a recording and see what it is I said. The way that I did this was I could use one of those programs, such as Otter, or even just a recording software, and many of these generate transcripts now. If you allow yourself to speak, even if you're in a room alone with a stream of consciousness, you can ask yourself a question. Say, what do I think I need in order to have blank or be blank? So perhaps, what do I think I need in order to connect with love? What do I think I need in order to connect with my version of success? Whatever it is. Then you record and simply allow yourself to speak. In the beginning, you might attempt to speak very formally, or you might attempt to control what comes out. If you choose to allow to, eventually you'll simply start talking, and you'll simply start saying what it is you really feel. If you record that for a while, and then check the transcript, you might be surprised at what you find. If you feel so inclined, you can even run it through an analysis tool, like one of those word tools that shows you how much you've said a certain thing. This is one of the ways you could do that if you so choose. Now, you might ask then, what next from here? What might be the step from here? In my experience, being honest with myself is key. I am not a fan of attempting to self-gaslight. I am actually a big fan of creating authentic relationship with the self, being real. Part of having these conversations and listening to how I speak and having no shame, blame, or condemnation is about forging authentic connection within myself so that myself doesn't feel scared to talk to me. That was a big revelation I had. On some level, my inner self was terrified to be honest with my conscious self. because it was afraid that I would tell it to shut up, or that I would push it down, or I would try and cover it up with something. And so as you explore the words you use, it's possible that you will come across something similar as well. And the most helpful thing I did during this process was to be incredibly loving with myself and understand that in any given moment I was doing life. I was doing life at the fullest capacity that I knew how, with the informations, the tools, and the resources I had. It didn't make me any less loving, resilient, intelligent. It just meant I was at where I was at. And we're all at where we are at any given moment. And now you have one more tool, resource, something you can utilize if you choose to connect with and have relation with yourself. Because if you watch any of my other videos, one of the things that I highlight for all of us, for you and for me, is the power of our relationship with our inner self, with our greater self. Because that's the foundation upon which the deepest trust can be built. When we ask ourselves, how can I trust myself? How can I trust I'm listening to my intuition and not my anxious self? Part of this process comes from listening and not suppressing any of our voices, and instead being able to be so present with all of ourselves, being able to be in conversation and be curious. To be the curious, awesome friend that we always wish we had. And I perceive if you're watching this, you absolutely have the empowerment, ability, and capability to do that and be that. Now, at this moment, it feels really appropriate to say that much of the challenges we have in life can be pointed back and rooted back to the relationship we have with ourselves. What we have accepted or not accepted within ourselves can be reflected in what we are excited by or irritated by in the world around us. And so, it may or may not surprise you that as you continue this pathway of deepening this communication within yourself, you may find that the way you interact with the world itself transforms. The way you interact with situations transforms. The way you are able to connect with circumstances and discern them with clarity may transform. And I'm so inspired that you are choosing to do this for yourself. Thank you for being that person. What a cool world we get to create together as each and every one of us chooses with more and more clarity to move into this world, to connect with this world, to love in this world as the people we naturally are. If this video has been of support to you, please feel invited to like, to share with someone you think it may be of assistance to, and to subscribe. Always love to hear your feedback in the comments. I have deeper resources and descriptions, and if you are someone who would like to explore deeper work together, please feel invited to take a look at those resource links. In all cases, it's been a joy to talk and connect together, and I look forward to our next conversation.